It was a sunny day outside, and there were remarks from the workers who were loading furniture with the help of special equipment to the third floor of the building. Two workers brought the refrigerator into the apartment through the balcony. The black-haired boy was annoyed by the loud noises coming from the top floor. Below were a man with large glasses and a girl. The man told the girl that from today this would be their new home. The girl was very happy about this and could not believe that all this was happening in reality. She threw herself into the arms of a man and was glad that now they would live a happy life. The guy from the second floor watched all this. He was extremely dissatisfied with the screams and noise that came from this couple and put out his cigarette on the windowsill and threw it out the window. This happy couple moved to the third floor. That is, one floor above the disgruntled guy's apartment. After they moved in, the guy started having problems. The guy was sitting in his apartment and playing computer games. He could hear annoying sounds of games from a couple living above. The guy tried to ignore these sounds and continued to play. The guy was asked if he was watching adult films right now, to which the guy answered negatively with a cry. He explained to his friends that these sounds come from his new neighbors who live on the floor above, adding that these sounds reach him every night until the morning, and this prevents him from falling asleep. One of his teammates offered him just a solution to go and ask them to play games quietly and not interfere with his studies, to which the guy replied that he didn't even remember the last time he opened the book. At the end he added that he had already tried to ask them. The guy stood in front of the girl and, apologizing, asked her to be quiet and not make so much noise, to which the girl was very surprised. She apologized to the guy and didn't know what to do because sometimes she just can't hold back. This answer really pissed off the guy because she just boasted that her husband could play games without interruptions. The guy was offered an alternative. He was to take revenge on them in various ways. The guy replied that he had already tried this method. Once he hooked a speaker to the ceiling and turned on loud music, but this only activated the couple, and they began to play games even louder and harder. There was a loud laugh in the guy's headphones from his teammates. The guy did not understand the reason for the laughter and asked what was funny. As a result, they came to the fact that there is only one option left in the form of physical violence. Delivery came to the house. The girl was puzzled because she did not order anything. The courier made sure that the address was set without errors and clarified it with the girl again. The girl confirmed the address. As a result, the delivery man left the goods and began to go to another address. The guy stood under the stairs and was pleased with his act, and imagined that the girl finally understood how he should be an innocent victim. Since then, the guy continued to take revenge on this couple in every possible way. He ran up to the door in the middle of the night and rang the doorbell and then ran back. He slipped gum into the mailbox. He leaned back in his chair. He really liked to imagine future methods of reprisals. The guy was about to go to bed. Suddenly, there were again screams from the game from a couple on the floor above. The guy came to the idea that tomorrow it will be necessary to come up with something new. He walked along the porch and tried to figure out what he should do new to take revenge on his annoying neighbors. When suddenly he noticed through the window how the girl living upstairs was heading to the store, and roughly estimated that she would be back in an hour or two. The guy thought that it would be possible to break the door handle so that the girl could not get into her apartment, when suddenly he noticed something. It was a package that was under his feet. The guy sat down to look at this package and came to the conclusion that this package was delivered quite recently. He looked closely at the inscription on the box and thought that there might be cleaning products, wipes, and something like that. He had the idea of ruining the napkins, which would probably piss them off. He decided that this was a good idea and set to work on it. He began to unpack the package, noticing that it was very tightly packed. The guy took out the contents of this package and was in a severe stupor and did not understand what it was. The guy was looking at the little thing that she ordered, when all of a sudden for the girl returned from the store, which shocked him even more. The guy turned around and was in complete shock and did not understand what to do. He abruptly put his hand to the girl's mouth and asked her not to scream. Something unknown happened, and right after that the guy doesn't remember anything. The girl noticed that he was rummaging through other people's things and was going to make an embarrassing remark to him, but he got ahead of her and shut her up. He himself suffered. As it turned out, he woke up in her apartment because after he got scared and tried to shut her up, they fell down the stairs and the guy lost consciousness. The girl did not know the password to his apartment, so she had to bring him to her home. His neighbor was very worried about him, despite what he had just done. He immediately tried to run away from there and return to his home. But as soon as he tried to get up abruptly and go to his place, he got a very bad headache, which is why he couldn't do it. Then he decided to stay for a while and apologize to his neighbor for opening her package. The neighbor was embarrassed, but did not lose her head and pretended that the package actually contained a drill, not toys. He knew that she was trying to deceive him, but did not tell her anything, as it later turned out that she had problems with the lighting in the house. So as a thank you for everything, the guy decided to stay with her and fix the lighting. He was very good at it, so he did it perfectly and left the girl satisfied. The guy, looking at the girl up close, thought about how beautiful she was, but later he realized that this girl was married, so he decided not to think about her in that way. He hinted to this girl that every night he hears how she plays with her boyfriend, so he asked her to do it quietly. As soon as she heard this, she was very embarrassed and immediately climbed under the computer desk. She wanted to find something there, and as it turned out, the wire from the headphones in the computer was turned off. Due to the fact that she suddenly climbed in there, she accidentally hit the computer and turned it on, so it turned on the continuation of what she was watching. The guy got into an incredibly awkward situation, so he immediately tried to get out of there, but the girl stopped him and asked him not to tell anyone about it. He was about to leave, but she decided to make sure he didn't tell anyone about it and offered him some wine. And this guy was a big wine drinker, so he agreed to sample a couple of bottles. He thought that they would only drink a couple of glasses, but before he even had time to look around, this girl was already drunk. This girl was one of those drinks that loosen their tongues. She sat and told him that she had never watched such films before and only recently noticed this by chance. She wanted to watch them at night all alone and with headphones in order to quench her thirst. But as it turned out, the headphones did not work at all, and she distracted all her neighbors. Then this guy thought that her husband is a busy man and doesn't care about what his wife does. His wife, after the story, offered another drink, although she herself could no longer. He agreed to have a drink with her, and then she told him not to tell anyone about it. But when he told her to just put on her headphones, she told him about the package. She didn't want anyone else to know about it. He didn't need to be reminded of this, but after drinking a fair amount, he got the idea to play pranks. He decided to ask her to show her toy to him again. But then asking her about it, he completely forgot that she wrote more than him, and it seems that she no longer understands what she is doing. Suddenly, the guy had the idea that she would use her toy right after he left, so he decided to offer her something. He invited her to play with his toy, not this fake. Saying this, he thought that she would now get very angry and kick him out, but her reaction deceived his expectations. She only agreed and told him to bring his toy to her. Immediately after that, they immediately began to play with each other. The guy completely lost his mind and control over his body, and the girl only told him her weak point, which he was going to use further to defeat her. As it turned out, this weak point appeared due to constant games with yourself. The guy, having heard this, attacked her and began to win. He didn't even understand whether she was trying to stop him or, on the contrary, connected with his mind and was also trying to start a game with him. This guy's name was Ji-hun, and the girl's name was Sheen, but he kept calling Sinan just a neighbor, so she got mad at him and was very embarrassed because even during the game he called her just a neighbor. This made her angry, so she told him her name and began to take an interest in his name. Then he took it as an invitation to her in the game. She lost the first round to him, so she had to start the next round, but then she decided to pack first. And then Ji-hoon thought of her as a married woman, but he grabbed her and hurried her on because she had more important things to do right now. She had to play with him to make him lose to her, because he had already done it. Otherwise it would be a bad game. Then she started her game and started to eat during the game. She did this for a very long time to taste all the taste that she wanted to learn Ji-hoon. During the game, he stopped holding back because she brought him to emotions, and then he began to seriously play with her, and won again. Then she was shocked by what happened no less than himself. Only after a while he realized what he had done and went to apologize to her in the kitchen, because she began to cry and went to wash. Going to the kitchen, he thought that he was losing his head, and also did not remember how long he had done something like that, so much it's good that he almost lost consciousness. But when he entered the kitchen and saw the Seki, he again lost his mind. He wanted to play with her again, and did not hear her requests to stop. He began to play with her, and she turned on the water, but even through the sound of the water, he clearly heard that it was hard for her to play. She asked him to be careful and not get ahead. He began to imagine how she washes the dishes every day right in the same kitchen, and then joyfully calls names to her husband, who is waiting for her, and they, sitting at the table, are children of how they spent the day. And right now she is playing with Ji-hoon, and nothing can't help it. Ji-hoon continued to think about all this, and at the same time realizing that right now he was destroying a young happy family, he continued to play with the Sheen. Ji-hoon noticed the closed room and realized that it was her husband's room. He decided to continue the game in his room, but Cyan was unhappy with this decision. Although she could not influence the choice of Ji-hoon in any way, she was completely helpless and useless in this situation, so she could only cry. Ji-hoon entered her husband's room and noticed that it was a small office with few things, and most of the things were taken away by the table with a computer and books, and the rest of the space for the bed. Ji-hoon took her there and asked her if they lived in separate rooms, and then she said yes. He started to go even further and kept asking about different things, until it got to the point where he asked how many times he played with her in this room. Then she did not want to answer, but she said that it was only twice. He realized that he needed to act, so he immediately proceeded with orders for her, because he already understood that she would completely listen to all his orders that he would give her. He was going to play with her right in her husband's room 3 times. They continued to play, but Sean told Ju-hin that she didn't like to play in her husband's room. They kept playing, and the first round was supposed to be over by now, but Ju-hin really liked the feeling, so he just wanted to stay there longer. They played for some more time, when suddenly a voice was heard behind them saying this: "You've been behaving so strangely these days, so then what's the matter?" When they heard this, they were very much frightened, especially Cyan-sama. Ju-hin did not know how to get out of this situation and what to say to her husband, so he thought of him to just run out the window. But her husband realized that he was going to run away and said that it would be a futile act, because he only kicked himself will break. Her husband asked Ju-hin what was between them, but he didn't know what to answer him, so immediately after this he decided to find out about it directly from his wife. But it seems that she got flustered and shouted to him that they love each other. Her husband reacted calmly upon hearing this, which led to Ju-hin's complete shock, because he did not expect this at all. Her husband didn't even seem surprised by this and told them to hurry up. Ju-hin was scared because he did not know at all what to expect from her husband, because he gave them only 10 minutes to get ready. He thought that he was going to prepare some kind of surprise for them during this time, and after he left the room he decided to ask Sienna who this guy is for her, and in what kind of relationship they are. As it turned out, in fact it was not her husband, but her older brother. After a while they got up and went to the kitchen. Ju-hin was embarrassed, so he decided to fix the situation and compliment her brother. But he didn't manage to do it. Her brother decided to ask Sienna if she had time to tell her family about her boyfriend, but she haven't done it yet. Her brother noticed from their behavior that they really looked like a couple in love, so he didn't do anything. But then Ju-hin began to think about her family, because now it starts to seem strange to him that the brother and sister lived on their own, but it seemed that everyone not so easy, so he decided to remain silent. But all of a sudden older brother Cyan started telling Ju-hin this: "I'm older brother Cyan, my sickle." Cyan was a very obedient child from childhood. Even with her little hands she tried to help her grandmother in everything. This is why she became such a housewife. When I was in high school and Cyan was in high school, the disease took away our grandmother from us. Then we even mourned we couldn't afford clothes. So of course, we ended up in an orphanage. In the end, we never found a new family. What kind of family will immediately accept our almost adult children? Since no one needed us, I made a promise to myself always protect CNA plan to buy a house and when she turns 20, leave the orphanage. And this year we finally did it, even though it took a year longer. Then Jean understood why she was acting like that, because she was completely mature and calm. But suddenly he came to the realization that she was 21 years old, so he was shocked by this, and did not even begin to pretend in front of her brother. This aroused his suspicions, so he began to justify that he did not know the age of his girlfriend due to the fact that age is not important to him. It was hard to believe that such a beautiful girl was only 21. Her brother told Ji-hoon about all this so that he would understand how much his sister was dear to him. And then he asked Ji-hoon if he would cherish her. He agreed, and immediately after that he decided to return home. Being at home, he decided to quickly call his friend while at the computer and began to tell him about everything that had just happened to him. His friend was in complete shock. He didn't even understand how this could happen. But now, Ji-hoon was in danger because one wrong move could cause her brother to get angry and look for him. He was sitting quietly at the computer and suddenly a bell rang at his door. He opened it and Sean was standing outside the door. She decided to bring him a pot of food. It was a very sweet act of her, but Ji-hoon was very worried about what happened between them, so he decided to directly tell her that their whole relationship is just a lie. Sean also understood everything, because she came to him for this. She came to him for this conversation, but there was an awkward silence between them. Sean only stood in front of him and was silent, while he was waiting for something from her. Apparently, suddenly, she decided to change the subject of the conversation and decided to show Mew that dish, which she has prepared. There was a lot of it, but Ji-hoon didn't have any ready-to-cook food for him, so she decided to make him rice with the jide she brought. She was very happy, and after that they went to his room, but Ji-hoon had nowhere to put her, because he had no chairs or a sofa in his apartment. He took her to his room and tried to put her in his computer chair, but they ended up sitting on the bed. But while sitting on the bed, she noticed that he had a game running on his computer, so she wanted to watch him play it. He started playing this game to show her, but during the game he can't think of anything but her, because right now, Sean was behind him and watched the game. The sight of her tender soft lips did not go out of his head, so he was distracted from the game. But at one point, he decided to ask her, and so clear. He asked her that she had come to him not only for food. She could not answer this question, and then he understood everything. After that, they began to play. They started playing 2 games at once, and suddenly some unfamiliar girl burst into their room, who said that she was very worried about him and decided to quickly run to him, because she thought that robbers had broken into his apartment. He didn't know how to get out of this situation and justify himself to his girlfriend, so he told her that a neighbor just came in and asked her to teach her how to play. Suddenly their food on the stove started to boil, so he yelled at this girl to go quickly and turn off the stove so as not to burn the food. During the time she was in the kitchen, they managed to hide all the evidence of their game, and also Sean told Ji-hoon that they would definitely continue to play right after she left. Ji-hoon noticed that she really wanted to play with him because she started laying so easily, but they were interrupted. They managed to hide all the evidence, and then his girlfriend returned. He invited her to have lunch with them, but Ji-hoon forgot to introduce his girlfriend Seon, so she asked him to do it herself. As it turned out, this girl is a Jimin. She is a friend from his party in the game they play together. It seems that she was worried that he suddenly disappeared and ran. She lives near here. They sat down for lunch, and during lunch they talked to each other, but their conversation was not very positive. Hyman got mad at Ji-hoon because he never paid attention to girls before, and now she thought that as soon as he saw big toys, then immediately became interested in them. Hyman received a notification on her phone about a reward in the game, so she abruptly got up from the table and went to her house to collect the reward. Then Ji-hoon said to Seon, "Sorry, she's a bit of a nerd. We've known each other for so long that she's already like a little sister to me. I was in high school, and she was in middle school when we joined the game team." Everyone else was older, so we hit it off straight away. We complimented each other so well we won the championship straight away. She always took care of me when I was in the army, even if it seemed like we were always fighting me, and we really care about each other like family. Although, if I thought, I shouldn't have told you all this, but it seemed to me that I should explain our relationship with her. Suddenly he thought that Xang began to be jealous of him, because she asked he had about what was between them, and breathed a sigh of relief when she found out that there was nothing between them. Suddenly, the Hyman burst into their room again and called Xian to his room to teach her how to play. Then Xian immediately got up and went to her. Because she pretends that this is what she came for. She sat down at the computer and started to play, but she was very good at it, because Anna was a beginner. In the first round she was able to destroy the entire enemy team and stand in first place. Then Ji-hoon saw excitement on the face of his friend Hyman and realized that she called her only to humiliate her because of her inability to play. She was very angry about it because she couldn't do anything with her. And then she also noticed that Ji-hoon was watching her with full vigilance and attention. She envied her very much. So when they almost started flirting with each other in front of her, she suddenly yelled at Xian for doing it and told her they were dating. Then they were both in shock. After that, she immediately decided to run away from his house because she understood what she had just said. Ji-hoon decided to run after her. But when he looked back at his entrance, she was no longer there. She ran well, because she used to be in the running team. As it turned out, she really loved him for a long time, and right now he was with another girl. He was left alone with Xian, but then there was already a more awkward atmosphere, and Xian decided to remember what they were doing before her arrival. But remembering this, she also decided to quickly run out of his house. He thought that she too had run away from there, but noticed that she had remained. She stayed because of the dirty dishes that she needed to wash. Because she could not just leave them, then she decided to wash her, but noticed that he did not even have a normal sponge for this. He forgot to buy it because of laziness. And then she decided to go with him to the store to buy him everything necessary for life. He went there with her, and on the way he thought of her as a really kind Ajoma who constantly takes care of him. They were in the store and Sayan was just delighted with it, and it was very million. Ji-hoon noticed that she was without the right thing that she forgot to wear after they played, and then she began to panic being in the store. Because of this he wanted to tease her because she looked very nice. They decided to quickly buy everything they needed and go home. On the way home she was very afraid that something might go wrong, and everyone would know about it, so he covered her Ji-hoon. But in his head he imagined teasing her and making her embarrassed in front of others. Sorry, but this is just a fantasy. Being in front of the house they met another neighbor, and then she asked them what they were doing together, and Ji-hoon told her that they met in the store, and she was dizzy, so they help each other. But as soon as they returned home they started to play with each other, and it was very good for both of them. They began to relax. They were playing with each other, but at one point she decided to take everything upon herself and started teasing him herself. Because previously only he did that, at one point their game suddenly ended because she was very good at it, and then I noticed that it got dirty. She panicked because it was her favorite t-shirt, and she thought that it might not wash, but then Ji-hoon told her that he can wash it because he has a washing machine at home. At the same time she had to go to the shower. But I learned so much that they were both in the bathroom. They were in the bathroom, so he helped her, and after that she decided to help him. She began to help, and at the same time treated him just like a child, despite the fact that he was older than her. It's not that he didn't like it, because she was very cute at such moments. At one point she noticed that he wanted to play again, even though he had just finished. Then she decided that he was a bad boy and wanted to stop helping him. But he liked watching her embarrassed face so much that he decided to tease her again. He told her that she should take responsibility and finish what she started, but she didn't mind, so they started playing. She obeyed him, and then he thought that she was really very nice. They started to help each other, but at one point the guy realized that he could no longer hold back, so he decided to start playing right in the bathroom, which shocked Xian a lot. As the tub filled with water, the gloss scene was accompanied by a splash of water. And although the water was hot, it could not even compare with the heat of the sienna. They were playing with each other, but suddenly Ji-hoon got tired, so they decided to just sit in the bathroom and relax. With heart-to-heart talk, she told him that she used to take drush quite often to save money, but she really enjoyed taking a hot bath because it was very good. Because of this conversation, she seemed to him even more beautiful and gentle, but then she noticed that Ji-hoon could play again, even though he had recently said that he was very tired of everything. They left the bathroom, and then Cyan went to dry her hair, but Ji-hoon wanted to hug her, so he asked her to quickly come to her. She said that she needed to turn off the hairdryer because it consumes a lot of electricity, and that's how she goes into Ajuma mode every time, like it's in her blood. They hugged and started to talk to each other. As it turned out, Cyan was an English teacher for elementary grades. Ji-hoon really liked this kind of talk, because this way he can learn a lot more about her, because now he knows nothing about her at all. A little later, he received a text from Him on the phone. She told him not to plan anything for the weekend, otherwise she would tell Cyan all his dirty secrets. And then came the weekend when they met. Him called him, but she was late for the meeting because she got on the wrong bus. But now it's time for their parties for two again. Every weekend afternoon, Ji-hoon and Him went to the city center. This has become their friendly tradition since the beginning of the school year. They went to a computer club filled with the voices of angry gamers. Everything is still the same, only they got much older, but they continued to do the same. Him was very angry at Ji-hoon because she was not good at playing on the computer. Their game was over, and after that Him decided to give him some food. While they were eating, she decided to start talking. She said, "Pew, I wanted to tell you something important. I said I'm your girlfriend. All that I remember back then. I wanted to say that I was your friend, but ended up blurting it out, so don't you think?" It was a very strange behavior from her, and then he began to hope that she had taken him out not only for this to the city, because he already knew that it was all just a joke or a mistake. He told her that she behaves like a child because she constantly worries about nonsense, but she tried to say that this is not so. Then he began to say to her, "Yeah, well, do you remember, like someone in your time spent all the money for textbooks on food? You say not a child? And who has rice on his face?" She told him to help her remove the rice from her face, since he noticed, but then he played a joke on her and said that he was not her mother to do this. Their next match was nearing the start, so they began to prepare for it in order to tear apart the opposing team once again. Their match ended in their victory. She had not taken first place for a very long time, so she was very happy about this and decided to hug him. But then he could not breathe, so he quickly pushed her away. She bent down to the computer, but then she almost fell asleep. He tried to help her, but he only made it worse, because he almost pulled everything off her. She got mad at him and slapped him, causing his nose bleed. They were talking very loudly to each other during these couple of minutes, so they were asked to be a little quieter. After that, they went to a cafe that was near the computer club, where they decided to get their own drinks and sit outside. Being there and drinking drinks, Ji-hoon said Him this, "When I'm with you, I always forget how old I am, and how the time flew by like we were in a comedy club." Suddenly, Him interrupted his conversation and called him Appa. He was in a misunderstanding because she was too serious at that moment. She decided to ask him again if he had given up his dream, because she thought that he was going to become a Cyan guy and was worried about him, or rather, about her feelings. After that, he told her that everything is not so bad and he has not forgotten what he wants from life, so his dream remains the same. He went out for drinks, and while Him sat at the table waiting for him, she kept thinking about how he was too dumb, because he still did not understand her bunch of hints. Then she decided to use her trump card to finally get an answer to her feelings from him. He returned to her table, and then he noticed that she was crying. In fact, she just used a bottle of water and dripped on her face. He returned to her and began to worry about her, because he had not seen her cry for a long time. She told him that in fact she had a tumor. He realized that all this was serious, and after that, he decided that they needed to step aside and talk to each other calmly there. They went to another place where she could show him the tumor she had. But when they got there, she was very ashamed, so there was no going back. Jijin did not understand what was happening because there was not even a trace of the place that was supposed to be operated on. Then Himin realized that he was even dumber than expected and decided to act. She pounced on him and said that she had done everything this is for the sake of two, so that he plays with her because he did not understand her hints at all. This is where our video ends. Thank you all for watching and bye.